Absolutely. I'd say the biggest thing is just get relationships. About the thing about PR, especially in PR, because really all life is about relationships, but especially in PR, it's do you know your local journalists? Do you know, like, if you are a coach, do you know people in the coaching niche that is in like writing journals and writing in the magazines that you want to be featured in? Do you know the podcast hosts? It's just having those relationships and providing real value. I'm sure you're a podcast host, so I'm sure you get a lot of pitches from people who are just like, look how amazing I am. How is that providing any value to the host? The host is going out of her way to get you on her show. She doesn't want to hear about, oh, what you're going to get out of it. She's doing you a favor. How are you going to help her and her audience? What value you're going to provide? So,
Mhm.
when you had said, ask, but lead with value.
Mhm.
If you're going to start these relationships, say, hey, I would love to be on your podcast because I've been listening to it. And here's the value I can provide to your audience.
Mhm.
Provide value. Relationship is not one way. It's not you taking. They're giving you all these things. It's about give and take. What are you providing of value that makes them want to say yes to having you?
Hello, Empower Nation. Welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. I am your host, Angela Duncan, speaker, best-selling author, serial entrepreneur, and we talk all things money and business. Today's episode is sponsored by freemoneytipsbook.com. freemoneytipsbook.com. Head over there, download your free ebook, 7 Unshakable Tips to get you started on your financial journey. Today's episode, I get to interview Victoria Kennedy with Victorious PR, one of the largest PR firms, and she is going to teach us how you are going to get known without having to spend money. Hi, Victoria. Welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I am excited to be here.
Yes, so am I. I've been following you for a little bit on social media, kind of a stalker a little bit, but you've done some incredible things, and I would love for you to kind of share your story and how you got to what you're doing today.
Absolutely. Well, first, I'd have to say I didn't always start in the PR world or as a business person. And I think a lot of people listening to your podcast are kind of the same. They never thought someday they'd start their own business, right? I mean, I was an opera singer. That's my background. I was singing opera all over the world. I had gone to school for it. Music was just my entire passion, my love in life, still is. And I had that misconception that I think a lot of people do is I'm a creative. I can't be good at business. A lot of people say you're either a creative person or you're a business person. And I believed that. I bought into that and thought I'm a creative person and that's just who I am. And I'm just going to sing and stick with it. Well, that was fine. And I was singing in Europe in castles and cathedrals until I came back to America for a routine visa renewal and they denied my visa.
Hmm.
And so I had to become a business person because all I knew how to do was sing. I had no skills. I was not even qualified to run a cash register at McDonald's. I did not have life skills. So I decided to start my own business and I went all in, real estate marketing, because I thought I had a lot of friends when I came back to America who were, of course, performers because I was
Hmm.
a performer. And what can you do when you can no longer perform anymore? You become a real estate agent. So a lot of my friends are agents, and I was like, let me do your marketing. Let me do some ads for you. And got a lot of clients. I did not 6 figures in my first 9 months in
Hmm.
business and didn't know anything. And then pandemic happened, COVID. Real estate is no longer an essential business. So all my clients went on pause. They all canceled. And I was left at starting from zero again. I digged into what I did when I was an opera singer in Europe, which is get people to talk about me in the media. I
Hmm.
started doing that again. People took notice. My marketer friends were like, Victoria, can you do that for me in my niche? There, Victorious PR was born. A year later, we made $1 million our first year. And 3 years later, we've made over 5 million. So that's sort of the story.
Incredible story. Congratulations. So getting noticed by media, I think that seems like it's a secret. Like people just don't know what to do. You see a lot of people just producing content after content, but it's not getting their business anywhere. So what are some maybe tips that you help your clients to get them more recognized?
Yeah, it's kind of like that old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Hmm.
It's really true. I think that there are a lot of business owners who are listening to this, and I get this a lot on my calls of Victoria, there's this woman and she's younger than me and she's less experienced than me. And how come she got featured on Forbes and I haven't? I hear that a lot. There's these people who start off and all of a sudden it seems like they're media magnets and they're getting in all these places and they're making more money than you. And you're actually caring about your clients and you're actually have the expertise behind what it is that you're teaching. However, they seem to be getting more attention than you and they seem to be getting more money than you. Why? Because they figured out that it's all about perception. Unfortunately, it's not about what your degrees are on the wall or how many people you've helped. It's about, do people see that? Who's the loudest? When I say Donald Trump, you have a visceral reaction. It's either positive or negative, but you have a reaction and you know who he is. Why? Because he's everywhere, right? And that's what the media does and why it's so powerful, because it puts you everywhere. People are talking about you, good or bad, but that drives business to your business.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, say for example, you talked about real estate, right? If I was a real estate agent, which I was in the past, no longer, thankfully for me, not the right fit. But if I was a real estate agent and I just wanted to get noticed, I mean, am I like mailing letters to people? Like, what's something that I could do that I could, just get in touch or get in front of the right audience?
Absolutely. So real estate agent is perfect. It's a different strategy than I would use for, let's say, an online coach. Because if you're a real estate agent, you want to focus on your local market, right?
Mm,
You don't really care about being seen globally like a coach would, for example. Maybe your clients don't care about Forbes, but they care about Portland Daily. They care about Las Vegas Review Journal, whatever your local newspaper is. That's what the people who are going to be calling you to buy and sell their homes are reading. So
mm,
you want to be in with those people, local news, local TV, local newspapers, magazines. And the great thing about that is those are the easiest to crack, right?
mm,
Newspapers are, especially local ones, are desperate for content. And you'll see majority of the times they'll pull things from AP News, from Reuters. They'll pull it from different places because they're just so desperate to have content. So if you come as a real estate agent and say, hey, I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm a local real estate agent here. I am boots on the ground. I know what's currently going on with today's market. I'd love to provide that value to your real estate section. They're going to jump on the opportunity to interview you, especially if something big is happening in your city and you know about it, maybe a new housing development, or maybe like a new pipe is being built and how is that going to affect the real estate market. If you can provide any value, you are going to be the go-to person that they're going to call for local TV, local newspaper. And then guess what? What did I just say in the beginning? It's all about the amount of eyeballs on you. If they see you, then you're the local celebrity. You're the go-to agent in your area.
yeah. So I think my key takeaway from that and something that I've learned doing podcasting is to ask, like reach out and ask. If you don't make contact with them, they never know who you are. That way they're not going to be able to feature you on any stories. If they don't know you're an expert in that field, you haven't reached out to them and built that relationship, then you can't really expect for them to just magically find you.
I love that. Amen. Yes. Ask.
Yeah. So as you started to build your business, what are some maybe key lessons that you have learned? Because PR is a little bit different, obviously, than some of the other businesses. So maybe talk about something more specific to you that you've kind of learned your lessons along the way that could help someone else that's thinking about getting into this field.
Absolutely. I'd say the biggest thing is just get relationships. About the thing about PR, especially in PR, because really all life is about relationships, but especially in PR, it's, do you know your local journalists? Do you know, like, if you are a coach, do you know people in the coaching niche that is in like writing journals and writing in the magazines that you want to be featured in? Do you know the podcast hosts? It's just having those relationships and providing real value. I'm sure you're a podcast host, so I'm sure you get a lot of pitches from people who are just like, look how amazing I am. How is that providing any value to the host? The host is going out of her way to get you on her show She doesn't want to hear about, oh, what you're going to get out of it. She's doing you a favor. How are you going to help her and her audience? What value you're going to provide? So,
Mhm.
when you had said, ask, but lead with value.
Mhm.
If you're going to start these relationships, say, hey, I would love to be on your podcast because I've been listening to it. And here's the value I can provide to your audience.
Mhm.
Provide value. Relationship is not one way. It's not you taking, they're giving you all these things. It's about give and take. What are you providing of value that makes them want to say yes to having you?
Yeah, I agree with that. Sometimes when I get approached for people being on my podcast, obviously my goal is to promote people, is to share their stories and to teach the audience about money and business. But some of my favorite emails that I get are people like, I have a LinkedIn reach of 10,000 that I'll share it to. I also have a podcast. Let's swap and, help each other. So when they're coming to me from contribution like that, they're more likely to get my attention because, like you said, like if they're coming to me and saying, hey, I'm wonderful. Look at me. Well, that's great. A lot of people can say that, but how can we help each other and not just be a one-sided relationship?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you've been in PR for a little bit now. I'd like to hear maybe some fun stories or either fun campaigns or clients that you worked with that you've enjoyed, working on with their personal brand.
Yeah, being in PR, it's so fun because you get to travel all over the world. Oftentimes, I'm invited and flown out places. My favorite client is actually, you probably heard of him, Andrea Bocelli.
Mhm.
So he's actually a client of mine. We do his PR. I've done PR for his son as well, Matteo Bocelli. And they flew me out to his private house in Forte dei
Mm.
Marmi in Italy to cover his concert with Anna Netrebko. It was a dream come true. I mean, come on. I'm in Italy at Andre Bocelli's house. Are you kidding me? It was so cool. And so I love doing PR because I get these types of opportunities, these really cool things. I get into rooms that I otherwise wouldn't be in. This summer, I got invited to sing at the Vatican. I
Mm.
also sang this summer in the House of Commons in London and in Guildhall. Like you can't get into these rooms, you can't just go into the Vatican. Like you have to be invited, right? But because if you know the right people and if you have the right connections, you can. And that's why I love PR. And that's why I love getting my clients into these rooms as well. Because it's all about who's in the room where these decisions are made. I'll give you
Mhm.
a perfect example. One of my clients, he does mortgage marketing. And so whenever you say marketing to, I don't care what the niche is, people are turned off. They're like, oh, kind of like when you say you're a coach, they're like, no,
Yeah.
They don't want to let you in their inner circle. We were able to get him into the most prestigious mortgage podcast. They loved him. They invited him into their inner circle. Now he speaks on their stages anytime
Mm.
there's these huge mortgage conferences. Why? Because he got into the right rooms. And I don't care. You can run ads to your blue in the face. It doesn't matter. They're not going to invite you to those rooms. It's not about how much money you have. It's about the value you're providing and the people that you know.
Yeah, and I think that goes to you as a business owner too. So talk about a little bit how you're different in your approach and what you do and how you've been successful versus, I mean, there's tons of marketing agencies. I probably get a dozen emails every day for people pitching me. But what kind of sets you apart and helps you to be successful?
Absolutely. Well, I think that there's a lot of PR agencies who are kind of scammers that we call them like cheapy PR, right? Where they'll be like, I can get you these pay to play. And it's almost like you can pick which one you want and then pay for it and get into it. That is so detrimental to your own credibility. And
Hmm.
two, you're associated with low level PR. It probably says paid or sponsored, which makes you look completely uncredible. And there's
Hmm.
no plan. Where's your brand strategy? How is this going to help in your overall game plan? I mean, is there podcast included? Like, where are you going with this? Are you just randomly throwing out press? That's a waste of your money. And I think what really makes us different is the first thing we do is we sit down on a brand strategy call because every client has a unique story. Maybe
Hmm.
some clients, as I said, are local real estate agents. And so we need to focus on local press for them, as opposed to if they're a coach, okay, we need to go wide. We need to go Forbes. We need to go Bloomberg. We need to go big, right? It just depends, but it takes someone sitting down with you and really saying, what is your story? How
Hmm.
can we serve you at the highest level? Because in press is not all the same. It's about wanting to be in front of your ideal client audience so that you can get into those specific rooms. Like I said, with the mortgage guy, if he had just gone with a cheapy PR, they may have gotten him on publications that didn't even care, weren't even about mortgage. But because he worked with us, we were able to get him in Scotsman's Guide, which is the #1 mortgage publication, Mortgage News Daily, those huge mortgage podcasts that I had talked to you about, which got him on stages. And so it's about working with someone who really will sit down, listen to your story, and get you in places where are really best for you and your niche.
Yeah, it's tailored. It's not a one size fits all, you know. I've seen agencies where they kind of have like this is my plan. They go through their webinar. This is what we're going to do for you. This is how we're going to do it. But you can't have a one plan for different people in different industries because it just won't work.
Amen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what are your biggest struggles right now being at the size that you are and all the things that you have been able to accomplish? What's your difficulties that you're running into now?
In terms of difficulties, I would say instead of difficulties, I'd like to say exciting like opportunities because in every challenge there is an opportunity.
Mhm.
And what we are doing right now is we're actually coming out with a new offer, which we can talk about a little bit later, but it's actually exciting because the biggest thing that I've seen in terms of like, if you want to call it like a challenge or a difficulty, is that we charge high ticket. We're the best, and I'm not afraid to say that. Our prices are anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 a month, and we have clients who happily pay us these fees because we are the
Mhm.
best. However, I
Mhm.
understand a lot of people can't afford that. And they're like, "Victoria, I want to work with you. I want that level of, white glove service, but they don't have $10,000 a month to spend on me." So what we're doing is we're creating a lower ticket offer where people can come in and we can help them with their offer. We can help them more in a group coach setting where they can get PR themselves. They can get the building blocks they need. So eventually they can pay for our services, but in the meantime, they don't have to be barred from it. They don't have to say, oh, Forbes is only for the people who can afford 10K a month. No, Forbes is for everyone if your story is good enough, and we're going to help you tell it so you can pitch it to the right journalists.
Good. So now you're able to reach a more broader audience and perhaps someone that is in that new to mid-level with their business and not quite at the level that can afford the higher price ticket, like you said, but still has the ambition and the drive and the story and the products to get to that place too.
Absolutely.
Now,
Yes.
would you say you're kind of picky now that where you're at when you're talking to clients and who you want to take on and say yes to because it has to make sense for you too, I would assume.
Absolutely. So in terms of our current offer, our high ticket offer, we're very particular about who we work with. I mean, there's a lot of checks that we do before we'd move forward, and we don't do reputation management. So if we're looking you up and you have some bad records showing up on Google, we're not going to touch that. We're not going to make that go away for you. We're not going to make that go lower on Google. Like, I want to work with people who have integrity, who have great offers, who just nobody knows about yet. I want to shine that spotlight on them, on people who are truly changing the world.
Yes, sounds good. So what's next for you? What do you see in the future for your business? Either your business or are we going to continue to see you in the opera world?
Yes, actually both. So definitely going to be releasing some new music in the new year, which is very exciting. But also in terms of business, I'm excited about this offer. I think it's, if any listeners who's listening, this new offer is going to be coming out in the new year. So if you want to follow me on Instagram at the Victoria Kennedy, you'll be able to see all about it. And I just want you to know that it is for you. Don't think that your story isn't good enough. Just because you haven't made money or not that much money yet doesn't mean that you're not going to or you're not worthy to be seen in the press. You don't have to buy your way into these publications, okay? I get my clients these huge things because of their story. Not
Hmm.
because I'm paying someone to do it. It's because I just have relationships with journalists. But if your story is good enough, you can get in these publications as well. And that's what I'm going to help you do.
Yeah. How does AI play a part in what you do or with maybe with some of your clients as well?
AI is really good for ideas, right? So if we have a client and they're in the healthcare space, but we've already talked about, several different article ideas for thought leadership, we might go to AI and say, "Hey, they're really good in this field and that field, and like, can you give us some article ideas that we could write about for them?" And then it spits out some great article ideas. We give that to the client, like, "Do you like any of these?" And then we'd go write an article about it. Right.
Hmm.
So it's really good tool to just think of it as like someone you can brainstorm with some great fun ideas. It's so creative, and I think it's definitely something every business owner should be using.
That's good to know. Yeah, I've been working on podcasting with AI and figuring out some tools there. So it's just interesting on what is in front of us and how quickly all of that has developed. So I'm that's something I'm excited about. Like how can we make business more streamlined, still keep us, our message, who we are, but utilize some tools just to make business, everyday business, easier for us to do.
Like
So
that.
you touched a little bit on the offers or anything else that you want to add so that our audience knows what's coming.
Yes, it's very exciting. It'll be announced in January. It's called Authority Creator. And the great thing about it is it helps you make more money and it helps you attract high ticket clients who are willing to pay your high ticket prices. And that's all through the leveraging your personal brand. I mean, we didn't pay for any paid advertising. We all did it from my brand, from my PR. I did 1 million my first year, not a single paid ad. And I just want to share that now with other people is you don't need all these paying for all of these things. You could just show up as yourself in order to attract those people who'd love to work with who you specifically are.
Very nice. Okay, so I'm going to shift gears and ask you a fun question. If you could have a superpower or super talent, what would it be and why?
I think I'd love to be a genie in a bottle.
Mm.
That would be super fun. I'd love the little outfit. But it would be so fun to be able to grant wishes, and maybe put a smile on somebody's face and make their lives better. Because that's what I do in my business all day is I'm trying to make people's lives better and share their wonderful story with the world so that other people can get inspired. And if I
Hmm.
could do that in a magical way, that'd be even better.
That's awesome. Share again the website and social media. How does our audience get in touch with you to learn more about your program that's rolling out and anything else that you can help them with?
Yes, that's authoritycreator.co. And you can find me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm at the Victoria Kennedy. And please just shoot me a message. Don't feel like you can't talk to me. I'm a real person. I'm all about relationships. It's what I do all day. So if you are listening to this podcast, tell me you found me on the podcast. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help you and point you in the right direction.
Yes, and I definitely reached out to you via social media, so I can tell the audience that you definitely responded, and I so appreciate you saying yes to the podcast today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning into Empower Her Money podcast. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, share this podcast, and leave a review wherever you are tuning in.